Tesla stock. It is time to talk Tesla stock. Everybody's favorite stock at the moment that everybody's intrigued with and everybody's trying to figure out right now. Is now the time to buy Tesla stock? Or should you wait? Should you wait till next year or the year after? Or should you never buy Tesla stock? And maybe the stock's still overvalued despite coming down 60+% this year, right? And this is a big question that are on tons of investors' minds. And there's so many people that are interested in this right now. And as somebody that's been a shareholder of Tesla for many, many years, I want to kind of give you my opinion based upon some of these gentlemen's opinion, okay? It's clear as day. Massive amounts of people are asking themselves, is now the time to sell Tesla stock, buy Tesla stock? Look at this video from 3 days ago. 146,000 views. Now, I actually watched this live on CNBC, and I was like, I got to react to that. It's taken me a little while, okay? But, I'm getting around to it, and I want to react to this. Big short investor, Danny Moses, it says, avoid Tesla stock. Don't buy that baby. Don't even think about buying that baby. If anything, think about maybe selling it. That's what he's basically saying, okay? Next one up here we'll react to after that is this one, which the fundamental issue facing Tesla is a pullback in demand from the following day. So yeah, we'll get into both those. Hope you guys enjoy this. As always, if you are a Tesla investor and you're looking to join inside my private Discord chat, inside the Tesla chat specifically, and get access to everything we have in there, that will be the pinned comment down there if you are interested in that. Alrighty, guys, let's get into this. And let me know your opinion on Tesla stock. Is it a buy now? Is it wait till 2023? Is it a wait till 2024? Or is there no price that it makes sense to buy Tesla? I would love to hear everybody's opinion down there in that comment section. 19,800 plus subscribers. Thank you, everybody that is here, as always. Appreciate you.
Excited. Tesla is still one of the index's worst performers so far this week, down almost 12%. CEO Elon Musk dumping almost $3.6 billion worth of stock this week. And our next guest predicts more trouble ahead. Danny Moses of the Big Short fame is founder of Moses Ventures. He is shorting Tesla. Still, not enough for you.
Not enough yet. No, not enough yet.
What more is there here?
Well, it's still a $500 billion company, and I don't think that the fundamentals justify that valuation. And listen, if I was as good at this trading stock as Elon Musk was, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be taking a vacation somewhere, because he has sold now $40 billion over the last 13 months as we move lower here. So.
Yeah, even if you put the short on when Elon Musk made the bid for Twitter, you would be in very good shape. I'm just wondering at this point, as you see the story unfold, what makes you so confident that there is more downside here? Is there something very concerning to you that's happening?
So I think that a lot of the stock price has been about his brand, and we've seen that now get hit a little bit. And if you're a fundamental investor and you like Tesla, great. But I think still at this valuation, there's a lot of headwinds coming for the economy on a macro basis. Yes, they were early in EV. Yes, they were the best, or maybe still are the best, if you want to call it that. But a lot of competition's coming, and we're going into recession, it appears. So this is not immune from a normal economic cycle. And
let me be very clear about this to everybody watching this video right now. In my personal opinion, as somebody that's owned this company for many, many years now, the number one problem for Tesla in 2023, and maybe even in 2024, but certainly 2023, has nothing to do with competition. The main issue for Tesla is the economy. The economy. What we know is the consumer's in the worst place they've been in decades, if not ever. It's an awful place, and wait to see the numbers till after Christmas. It's going to be so bad, it's not even funny. We know corporate earnings are starting to fall. We know recession fears are real, and we know the economy is likely going to head down in a significant way, and we know likely unemployment is going to start to skyrocket as 2023 rolls along. Those are things we do know and are likely, and we do know the Fed is still working against the market, is still hell-bent on working against the market for the entire 2023. Now, we'll see if they stay working against the market and working against the economy for all of 2023. That remains to be seen, but they are committed to that. So we'll see what transpires there, but nonetheless, Tesla has major issues, not because of its brand, not because of all this other stuff, but because of the economy. And I think that's an important point. And that was one of the points he just brought up. But the whole competition thing, in terms of the other automakers, if they're selling an electric vehicle, it's just replacing a gas vehicle they would have usually sold. If Ford goes and sells an electric vehicle, that for them, it's still a net negative. Because at the end of the day, more people that buy EVs are going to consider Teslas and will buy Teslas. Same thing for GM and Volkswagen, and go down the whole list. And somebody that buys an EV would have usually just bought a gas vehicle, a gas Ford or a GM product or a Volkswagen or a Toyota or something like that. So this is just something important to keep in mind.
still believe that on a fundamental basis, it's still very rich.
Yeah, just to be really clear, I mean, you didn't short the stock today, right? I mean, the stock's had like a big move here. You've been short. You've had a fundamental reason for the short. And I think that, as I've been talking to you over the course of this year, I mean, what's happened with Elon, it really is about him not being at Tesla. I mean, when you think about how much of that $500 billion market cap is encapsulated in his association with it, is the Twitter thing and some of the other stuff that's going on in and around it, is that a big part of it? Because if he is a big part of this valuation, and he's not likely to maybe have the same focus he had in years past, is that part of it?
Yeah, he's running 3, 4, 5 companies, big companies, 3 very large companies at this point. And so there's a lot of, obviously, that he has to deal with. And if he's getting margin called, if that's the reason that he's been selling stock here, to whether he's going to replace some of the debt, the unsecured debt, $3 billion that we heard about in the papers a couple weeks ago, we haven't seen a reason yet that he's sold over $7 billion stock.
In the papers. Come on, Danny Moses. You heard about it in the papers? Come on, man. What in the world? This is 1980s?
$7 billion worth of stock over the last couple weeks and months. So, that's on top of the $33 billion that he had done before. So it still remains to be seen. And I just think people, if you're a Tesla shareholder, and I have nothing against people being long it, you're getting frustrated here because his attention span is being compromised. And I think they want him to focus on the business, and maybe the business isn't growing like it used to. And that would be the reason to say short. But to your point, Dan, I'm not adding here. Obviously, that's not a smart thing to do. It's down a lot, but put it in perspective. It's a 15-for-1 split is what this has gone through in the last, the 5-for-1 and the 3-for-1. This stock is still the equivalent of over $2,000 on an apples-to-apples basis from 4 or 5 years ago from the time.
Let me be very clear about what this man just said. What he just said there is completely irrelevant. And I mean 100% irrelevant. Doesn't matter how much a stock is up or how much a stock is down. All that matters is the valuation of the company. He should be talking about the terms of the market capitalization versus what his expectations are for net income over the next year or over the next 3 years. That's what he should be talking about. The fact that the stock's up a bunch or down a bunch, it doesn't mean anything, right? There's a lot of stocks that are down heavily right now in the market. It's down 60, 70, 80, 90%. Doesn't mean they're all great buys and you're going to make a bunch of money if you buy those stocks. Same thing if you look at a stock like Tesla, just because it's gone up a lot does not mean it's going to stop going up or it's going to it's not going to go up anymore. That's not the way stocks work. So the thing I'm very disappointed in Danny Moses in this interview is not that he's betting against Tesla stock and not that he's preaching to not buy the stock. That's fine. Do that sort of thing. But get into the numbers, get into the nitty gritty with this company, because by saying it's up a bunch and, the valuation is still high, what metrics are you looking at there? What are you expecting their net income to come in 2023? What are the margins you're expecting and those sorts of things, right? And that's just something he's not getting into here.
That 420 was the funding secured. So put that in perspective. And the last thing I'll say,
420 doesn't matter. The whole 420 thing, what it used to be at, it's completely irrelevant. Tesla's revenues, net income, margins, everything is massively different. Balance sheet, everything.
So put that in perspective. And the last thing I'll say is, I think when stocks go down like this, that I don't believe trade on fundamentals, it makes you take a better look at what the fundamentals are. If it doesn't trade on that, what is the buying point? I don't know.
Right. And then you layer in on it, the question about just PEs in general in this sort of investing environment, Danny. So I'm wondering how you think about the markets now in light of what the Fed did yesterday and these, supposedly high growth stocks, or at least valued like high growth stocks.
It's very frustrating. I think people that watched the Fed yesterday and saw that they're not either seeing what we're seeing. But again, this is a Fed who said inflation was transitory, right? Now they're erring on the other side, I believe. But I think the noise of the Fed, whether it's 25 basis points, 50 or 75 more to go, I think we're going to shift, to your point, Melissa, in the new year on fundamentals of companies, because to me, that's going to move to the backdrop. Will there be a point where they stop? Yes. Will there be a point where they cut? Yes. Do I think they get over 5%? Not a chance in terms of Fed funds. So I think we'll have a lot of back and forth with that, but I think the shift...
There's a lot I agree with Danny Moses on here. I mean, a lot, right? I don't agree in necessarily shorting Tesla stock, right? But I am in the belief that Tesla's going to have a very difficult 2023, right? I'm in agreement that the whole Fed story, inflation, those sorts of things is going to move to the backdrop in 2023, and everybody's going to start talking about recession, unemployment, how bad it's going to get, those sorts of things, and that will be the dominant subject that we'll deal with in 2023. Inflation, the Fed, those sorts of things will move a little bit more to the backdrop, right? The Fed will still be talked about, but it'll be more about are they going to do something in terms of basically start cutting interest rates? That's what the talk will be in 2023. How long do they wait to cut for? Is it late in the spring? Is it in the summertime? Is it in the fall time? Or do we have to wait all the way till 2024? That will be the big debate, and that's what people will be talking about. So there's definitely some points I agree with Danny Moses on, and some obviously I just don't.
It's quickly moving to fundamentals, and that's why I still like the Tesla short.
I always ask you this. Are there any new shorts out there that you're excited about? Or are you more inclined to be long at this point?
I'm more inclined to be long and find good cash flowing companies, don't have a lot of debt on their balance sheet, can have pricing power in this type of environment. And there always are going to be those. And I tell people all the time, if you're looking at an ETF, stop with the ETF.
Did that man not just describe Tesla? Did he not just describe Tesla?
I still like the Tesla short.
I always ask you this. Are there any new shorts out there that you're excited about? Or are you more inclined to be long at this point?
I'm more inclined to be long and find good cash flowing companies, don't have a lot of debt on their balance sheet, can have pricing power in this type of environment. And there always are going to be those. And I tell people all the time, if you're looking at an ETF, stop with the ETFs and find an individual stock. If you look at the bank index in the XLF, do I want to own Bank of America, Wells Fargo? Maybe not. But is Goldman Sachs a great company that trades very well in this type of environment? Sure. So
exactly. See, there's some things I really disagree with this man on, and some things I really agree with him on. It's exactly I don't understand. Everybody's like, oh, individual stocks are the devil. No, don't buy individual stocks. They're so bad. Look at how much this stock's down. And at the end of the day, you got to understand, when you're going through one of these sorts of markets, it's a once in every 10 to 15 years. So what do you think it's going to be the other 10 to 15 years? Individual stocks will get the shine, will get the limelight, and will look phenomenal. When you go through one of these insane spans of the NASDAQ down, 30, 40, maybe who knows where it'll end up, 50% down, individual stocks are going to look like the devil. But by the end of it, usually the indexes also look like the devil and the whole stock market looks like the devil. And so it's like, would you rather own a bunch of crap companies or would you rather own the highest quality companies, right? And I think that just gives some thought process. And you got to have a little bit longer term mindset to even think like that, right? Because a lot of people get so caught up in the short term stuff. And those same people, they get so caught up in the short term, oh, individual stocks are the devil because look at how much they've gone down the past year, right? Versus the indexes have held up relatively decent, I guess you can say, right? Those same people that when stocks are going up insane and people are making tons of money from individual stocks, way outperforming the market, was the same individuals that say, oh, no, that doesn't count. Oh, you're just getting lucky, blah, blah, blah. It's always an excuse, man. It's always an excuse, and it's just the way it is, right? So, definitely an agreement with a lot of what this gentleman's saying here.
Need to be a stock picker in this environment, and it excites me that there's opportunities, especially on the long side, that I think are going to come.
Danny, always good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Danny Moses, a Big Short fame guy.
Almost thought you were going to say thank you for shorting. Like, what?
It's easy to see why Brad Pitt portrayed Danny Moses in The Big Chill. I mean, that's a handsome man right there.
He's blushing.
I'm blushing. Always nice guy. Appreciate it, buddy.
You brought back with the guest, by the way. Anyway, what do you think of trades?
I'm sorry.
Look, Tesla traded down.
There was a little awkward pause. Holy smokes.
I heard guys say "big chill." I thought it was a different movie. So if I look at the chart of Tesla, you got to go back to November of 2020 to find support here. So I agree, it can go lower. But I feel as if every time we count Musk out, he pulls another rabbit out of the hat. So I wouldn't be buying it tomorrow, but maybe around 135, 140. I just think that what Mark Fields said the other night, that you can get a Tesla now in 6 days or order one and build one and get it in 30 days. I think that's a tailwind because he's cutting through supply chain issues that are hurting most other companies. So I'm not willing to say it's over for Tesla just yet.
It's likely demand's falling way off, and that's because likely the economy's falling way off and people just aren't as let's call it, excited to buy a $50,000 car, and they're certainly not going to be over the next 12 months, right? And if you look at Google Trends for basically any of Tesla's models, right, what you're going to find in the Google Trends data, it is down massively over the past 1 to 2 years, essentially. And so Tesla had this insane demand. Everybody was searching them. Everybody was buying them. Things were going great. And now the economy is falling off the rails. If the economy wasn't in as bad of a place as it is and like it's going in 23, Tesla would be just fine. They would keep reporting these insane great numbers. But because things are falling off the rails, I think so much faster than a lot of folks on Wall Street are even anticipating, I don't think a lot of people have even wrapped their heads around that yet. And I think it's also we're around Christmas time. There's a lot of tries to be good vibes and try not to worry about anything bad, right? But as soon as we get past New Year's, everybody's going to start to realize where the economy is, where it's going, and we'll likely start hearing some companies report some very disappointing numbers, and we'll likely start seeing a new wave of layoffs that will affect Wall Street as well, including there's even rumors about Goldman Sachs laying off. And when Wall Street starts laying off Wall Street, that's when Wall Street starts to panic and really starts to freak out, okay? And so don't be surprised if you start seeing some of that in the first quarter of 2023.
Oh, let me just play devil's advocate for 1 second.
Okay.
Is that not a headwind that, wow, there's no line, you can just get one in 6 days?
Like no one wants one.
Yeah, I get it, but there was so much talk about, and I get it, we can go from a drought to a glut. That's the same thing that happened to semiconductors and everything else. But once, as Melissa used the analogy of retail, once people start to get back to spending again and realize, Chicken Little, the sky's not falling as quickly as we thought it was, they're going to want to make bigger purchases again, and Tesla seems to have the stock for them to buy.
All right, the only thing I want to say is we just spent a whole block talking about what high inventory has meant for the retail space. And this is a space that's been supply constrained for 2+ years or so. And we also saw Morgan Stanley bringing down their estimates for demand for EV in general. We know how important China is for Tesla right now. Europe's in a recession. High supply for these guys right now is an absolute disaster for this story, in my opinion. And I think you could probably overshoot that 140 level if that does prove to be the case anytime soon.
Brad, put aside, Guy, your quick take on where Tesla is.
We've been saying it's going to go to 150 for quite some time. It got down to 153.28 today. You had a huge volume day the other day. So you could get one of these bear market bounces in a name like we saw a few months ago. But Danny's spot on, and he's been spot on for a while. So I think if you do get that rally, you sell that sucker again.
Yeah, so my opinion is, in terms of Tesla, like that pure capitulation, because it's just been I would describe Tesla as just being in a nasty, massive sell-off in terms of the stock price, right? Now, in terms of if you're thinking about when does a capitulation type event happen for Tesla, I'm talking that just insane down move and it kind of like bottoms out the stock essentially, and then you can start moving up from there and it's like a healthy kind of build back, okay? I think that capitulation event could come. I don't know if it's in the first quarter or in the second quarter, but when Tesla and Elon Musk and the team announced essentially that they're not going to likely be anywhere close to Elon Musk's 50% growth target, right? Or even analysts' 40% growth target. I think if that happens, that's a moment that you get that capitulation type sell-off where people are like, oh my gosh. I think you also get one if you get a massive kind of spike in the VIX where everybody really starts to freak out about the economy and starts to worry about the economy being in a bad place for not just 2023, but for 2024 and 2025 for several years, kind of like you had coming out of the great financial crisis where you had a very weak economy for several years and things got a little better, but it wasn't very exciting, right? So I definitely think those are some possibilities. And if you're talking about that pure capitulation type event, at some point in 2023, that bottoms that stock out, and maybe, I could see Tesla bottoming anywhere between $90 and $130 in my personal opinion, and then kind of making its move from there essentially. So that's my personal opinion. We'll see what happens there. Maybe, now's the bottom at 150. No one will ever know, right? At least not in the short term, but let's get into the fundamentals, okay? What are the fundamental issues facing Tesla now in a pullback in demand? Let's hear this.
Just because, I find it fascinating, this connection between Musk's behavior involving Twitter and the continued decline in the shares, except for yesterday. What's your take right now in terms of Tesla, whether he really is damaging some of the brand loyalty that the company has engendered over the years?
Well, good morning, David. I certainly don't think that Musk is helping Tesla's cause in terms of his association with Twitter, the actions he's taken there, the proclamations that he's made. But I do think the bigger fundamental issue is that Tesla appears to have demand issues. And we've seen them last quarter fall a little bit short on deliveries. And we've seen pretty aggressive price cuts in China. Now we're seeing discounting in the U.S. and we're seeing discounting in Europe as well. And so if you have a company that's growing or hoping to grow 40, 50% per year and it's struggling with demand, that's the principal fundamental issue. But to your question, absolutely, I think, to some degree, Musk may be disenfranchising, potential Tesla customers, and that's certainly not helping.
Yeah, we had a guest on yesterday, though, Gary Black, who owns the stock.
So in terms of Elon Musk, sure, he could be turning off some customers, right? He could also be turning on some potential. That's kind of like, maybe it's a wash sale situation, or maybe it's a slight negative for Tesla. But at the end of the day, if the economy gets far worse, something we know, if you just look back at the data, the numbers, what we know is when the economy gets worse, auto sales fall off a cliff. And you can go back to the great financial crisis and see this play out, right? And so if you're thinking about if you are truly of the camp of the economy is going to get quite a bit worse in 2023, you don't even have to be full camp like massive recession. If you just feel the economy is going to get in a worse place in 2023 than it's been in 2022, in terms of unemployment, in terms of just vibes of the market, consumer confidence, right? If you feel like everything's going to get worse in 2023 than 2022, what do you think is going to happen to auto sales? Auto sales will plummet in that sort of environment, right? If you're talking about things are going to get really bad, then you're really talking about a massive downward move for auto sales, which at the end of the day will hit Tesla. There's no one that's immune from that. When you go through one of those big cycles of people just not buying expensive items and taking out loans on things like vehicles, right? At the end of the day, what you see time and time again is those things fall, right? In terms of how many are sold, whether you're talking about homes, whether you're talking about new homes, whether you're talking about automobiles, it all falls into the same category, okay? And so that's just kind of the bottom line in regards to that. A lot of times it doesn't come down to what Elon's doing on Twitter and all this other stuff. That's almost like a sideshow, I feel like.
At least on his numbers, he thinks it's trading as low as 22 times earnings, thinks it could earn as much as $20 a share, by the way, by 2026, arguing the stock could be as high as $800. Tony, what's your take?
Well, we're at a little under $5 for next year, so that means the stock's still trading at above 30 times earnings. We are in a higher interest rate environment, and so when you look out to the future and you look at earnings, you have to discount those at a higher rate, and that's part of the reason we've had a pullback in high multiple stocks. I think the fundamental question is, until about 6 months ago, everyone thought Tesla could continue growing at 50% a year for the next few years and sustain or enhance margins. And I think we're seeing real demand issues, and so that means either the growth rate's going to have to slow, or they're going to have to cut price like they're doing now and have lower margins. And I think for the next couple of years, given that there's no new high volume product coming, that's going to be a real challenge for the company. So I think it's difficult to say beyond.
There is a high volume product coming. It's called Cybertruck, and that will start to go into some sort of bigger production likely at the end of 23, and then in full scale production in 2024. So I'm not of the belief of there's no big new vehicle coming. Yes, there is. Cybertruck's coming, baby. But the problem for us, that are Tesla shareholders is, in terms of meaningful numbers, we got to wait till 2024 for that.
24, 25, because there may be some new products, and the EV space is pretty dynamic in terms of competition. But when we look forward over the next year or two, I think those are going to be challenging relative to the expectations that Tesla has set with the investment community, and that's the principal reason we're seeing this continued pullback in the stock.
It's almost at your price target, Tony. At 100, you're at 150, underperform. Sounds like you might have to take that lower. And it also sounds like the Twitter purchase doesn't even factor into your bearish thesis. Is
That's
that right?
the other issue, and I talked about this in a video, I think last week, but no one's appreciating that enough, is analysts are going to have to keep bringing down price targets. If Tesla stock, Tesla stock can have 1 or 2 good days or something like that, but if it continues in this downtrend, right, where week after week, month after month, it's kind of going down, analysts are going to have to keep bringing down their price targets again and again and again, and then go from buy ratings to hold ratings, and from hold ratings to sell ratings, and from strong buys to buys, and just kind of keep moving the numbers down, which just continues to just give this pile-on effect of negativity around Tesla stock, because all of a sudden this guy from Goldman Sachs said this, and JP Morgan and Bank of America and all these different, Wall Street firms. So that's just something to also keep in mind. And it's worked in Tesla's favor for a while as things were just growing and the stock price was growing and the company was doing better and better, right? And the excitement brewed. But now we're basically kind of got the opposite going for us for at least the next kind of 6 months, if not the next 12 months.
The fact that he's had to sell stock, that he's clearly been very distracted, and now there are concerns about buying a Tesla and what that brand image means.
Right. So yes, we think the risk reward. We've had this price target for I think a year and a half, and when the stock was at 400, I think a lot of people thought, oh well, this will never happen, and there have been a number of factors that have contributed to that. Principally, that we've had a big market drawdown, and inflated valuations across the board have come down. But my principal concern is more fundamental. I do think we've seen some impact on the shares because of Elon's association with Twitter. I think the stock was up yesterday in part because people were relieved. They said, oh, well, the stock's been going down. That's because, Musk has been selling shares. There's an explanation for that. We feel a little bit better. But we're seeing the shares down again today. And I do think that, the principal reason remains demand concerns. Overnight, there was, incremental discounts. Tesla's now giving not only $3,750 discounts on cars taken in December, but they're also offering 10,000 free miles of supercharging. That was a new promotion that occurred overnight.
Interesting. All right, yeah, because I'm obviously our viewers.
Supercharging's awesome, by the way. I have free supercharging for life on this one right here, and that's like a beautiful thing. Now, for all my Tesla bulls out there, right? I think we all have got to be realistic about what's going to transpire in the economy and what can transpire in the economy. And I think all of us have to acknowledge the fact that the wheels could very easily fall off in 2023. And what does that mean for Tesla's growth rates? Because everybody's assuming like the economy is going to be good, everything's going to be fine. And especially a lot of Tesla bulls that run these numbers and these projections. And for all of us as a community, I feel like we've got to be more realistic than that. And if the wheels do fall off in 2023, what's that mean for not just 2023 Tesla numbers, but what does it mean for 2024? Is it something like maybe this year is a 15 or 20% growth rate for revenue versus a 40 or 50% like analysts have and that Elon Musk has, right? Or is it, like a 15, 20% this year and then maybe up to a 25 or 30% growth rate in 2024, right? And then maybe a 35% growth rate, right? So I feel like a lot of us are going to have to redo models around revenue growth because I feel like we've had this insane demand because Tesla's brand has been, so on a pedestal, plus easy money, cheap money sloshed out there like crazy, and just like this aura around Tesla in general, right? And so that is something we're going to have to factor in as Tesla bulls. And so that's something I'm kind of trying to preach out there right now, and I'm going to continue to kind of preach that. So yeah, anyways, likely I'll be a buyer of Tesla stock in 2023 for the first time in many, many years. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, let me know your opinion in the comment section. Also, if you're looking to join us in the Tesla chat, as well as get access to everything in there, check out the pinned comment down there. Much love and have a great day.